What's up guys, this is Coach Aleyzr here, and today we're going to talk about how to play outside on nuke. So as always guys, we're gonna start off the video with some early round stuff. I'm going to show you how you can start your rounds. Then I will show you how to play against all the variations of the outside smokes. I will show you how to counter A rushes on door as well. Then we will probably go over some mid round and your rotations, how to play down secret, and then we will finish up the video with some further util. So the first thing you have to know is the outside molly. There are different variations of like how people throw it. I personally just come down here the ramp, and then I just keep my crosshair at the height of this line here, pull it up a little bit, and then as you can see, this is the outside molly, and this is supposed to slow down the T's default so they're not crossing red super fast. After you did the molly, you can always do a simple flash like this, which is going to blind any T's that are trying to get close. And the first really important thing that I want you to know is that if you have conditioned the T's to slow down here a little bit because you're throwing the molly always, you can just use the flash and then keep your molly for later, which will be super powerful. The second most common option that you have is using this glaive smoke here. I think he was the first one to use it back in the days. And now I'm going to show you a lot of variations what you can do with this smoke. So the first thing that you can do is just simply cross secret with the smoke, and we need the smoke for sure because if the T's have a good spawn and they jump here, they would otherwise be able to spot you going secret, and obviously we don't want that. And then we just rush down into secret and we can play a very aggressive position here and might just surprise the enemy if they're going fast secret. This is especially good if they like to do rush smokes from spawn here and here, where they try to send one down secret pretty early. One thing you have to keep in mind though is if the T's have a top spawn that sends it up silo, there is a possibility of him like catching you. If he nades his jump, he's going to be able to spot you. So this move is probably chosen best if you know that they rarely have somebody that's like fast up the silo. Or what you can do, you can just smoke and add an additional very high flash like so. So if anyone is like jumping up the silo, he's getting full blinded by this flash, and then you are able to make it into secret. Next option that you have is to go to the right side. By the way, if you're doing the smoke, since you have to do it a little bit later, I personally prefer to do a left and right click flash, so it's not as deep and it's like still kind of a pop flash. Because if you just do the glaive smoke and you do the deep flash, so let's say glaive smoke and deep flash, now this one probably not as bad, but as you can see, if you're playing against better players, they could turn here. Yeah, so sometimes if you're doing it pretty late, make sure you're doing left and right click. So coming back to the smoke, with this smoke you can also just walk up on the right side here, and then there are basically three positions that you can play. Here you can also play kind of here, which I think is sometimes pretty bad because sometimes people like to jump spot here and then just by accident they spot you. So I think if you want to play back here, it's probably better to play here. And then this position is also pretty strong because you're hiding. The only downside of this position is that the angle is pretty fucked for you here. So if they actually like clear you hard, they're going to be like see you way before you see them. So if they clear you hard, it's pretty bad. It's just a position where you kind of gamble on that they don't fully check it, which is obviously not a gamble you want to take on like higher elo. But in some rounds, if you have a low buy on maybe not the highest elo, you can try this for sure. Next option that we obviously have is to go red. So we're just crossing red, and then we play here, and then we can immediately take a fight if you want to, or you can just hide and play on the timing. Or if you have a teammate that's with you, he can also do a simple flash like this, which is going to blind anyone that's in this area here, and then you can just wait for the flash and peek afterwards. You can also make it into this corner here and hold for anyone that's trying to go up the silo. Just be aware of the fact that if they jump here and you're looking up, they can see your barrel like sticking out if you have a silencer M4. And also make sure that you don't throw the smoke like this, where it blooms like pretty close. I think this one should be still fine. No, it's not fine. You can see like it's blocking your vision. So if you want to do this move, make sure that you aim a little bit higher so the smoke actually bounces a little bit more towards the right again. so you have clear vision on anyone that's at this corner here trying to get some info. Lastly, you can always go garage as well. And yes, for going garage, you usually want to use this smoke as well, because if the T's have a good spawn, or even with a normal spawn, if they're going fast outside and they're jump spotting behind this box here, they will see you crossing, and then it's like pretty bad for you because you no longer have a surprise factor, right? So use this smoke if you want to play garage. And then in garage, you have a few options. You can play back here, which is pretty strong. But what you need to be aware of is that if they're jumping down here, you will only see, let me try to visualize this. Yeah, you see this shadow here, this tiny shadow. So you need to be really careful about like spotting the shadow when they're jumping. Otherwise, there could be a scenario where they're jumping around the corner here and you don't even see them if you're not paying attention. And then it gets really scary for you and your teammates. So now let's go over how to exactly play against the most common outside smokes, where to go, which nades to use, and how to behave in general. So usually as an outside player, you will start around main so you can help A in case of any like fast A rushes. And I will show you later how to exactly counter them. But for now, let's say they're not rushing A. And now, for example, they're using these two diagonal smokes, which are pretty common. Usually, if you see the smokes, you're probably responsible for the first break here. And this is a pretty good lineup that you can use. You just come behind the box here, aim a little bit above this beam, and then you just break like this. And this completely opens the right side of this smoke wall here. And this is pretty good if you do it early, because if your AWPer is like helping A side, or maybe he's like close ramp, he's never going to be able to break in time like the first time. So you should always be the first one breaking, and then let your AWPer or your rotating player do the second break in case you want to do it. If you're anticipating this move and you know that the T's like to do the smokes very early, sometimes what you can do is jump on top of credit here, and you can see people crossing behind the smokes. And if they're not ready for this peak, this is a pretty good opening that you can get. Obviously, be mindful about silo. So we want to hold more like an off angle like this, so we're not fully out exposed to silo, and then just try to get a kill here. What you can also do, and I will try to get a clip for you, is that you can come here, and the diagonal smokes usually bounce on top of main here. So what you can do is you can try to block one of them, and then there's going to be a gap between them. Again, against diagonals, what you can also do after you've done the first break and you didn't spot anyone, you can see if you can make it towards garage, and then your AWPer rotating player can break this smoke for you again, and then you can just see if anyone is close main. Or if you feel like they like to walk towards main, then you can also just start spamming the smoke a little bit. So after the break, you move into garage, and then you can spam a little bit close main, maybe here where the T's have to kind of walk. Yeah, they kind of have to walk here because the AWPer is going to be able to hold all of this space. So this might be a good time to try to catch anyone with a little bit of spam. If T's are using this cross smoke here and there's no additional smoke, so there's just this smoke here, it's very likely that they are trying to shift out here, maybe even going to the left side, or just try to get behind red. And then there can be smokes from spawn again, like these two coming, or they could also do smokes like this, where they kind of smoke for themselves, like so. What you can do against this is, if you see this cross smoke, you can just come with your back against this blue box here, just kind of aim like so. And then you can break this, and you can also do that for your AWPer. So you're breaking and your AWPer is just sitting here, you break for him, and then he's just trying to get a pick. If you did save your molly in a round like this, so as we talked about earlier, maybe you just flashed in the beginning and now this smoke is up and now the other smokes are coming. What's really powerful obviously is to just molly behind red. And if you feel like you're a little bit on a late timing, you can always just do a simple molly like so. Just make sure that you kind of do it deep enough so it's kind of like this. Yeah, people can still edge it, but it's like pretty good if it lands here. One thing with these smokes is that you always need to be careful about people that are getting or like going through the smoke being close main here. So if you just see this cross smoke, you need to be super aware of the fact that somebody could be also close main here. This is super important. If the T's are now doing these smokes and you're scared of anyone close main, one really good flash that you can ask for is just a simple flash like this. and then anyone that's like close main is going to be blind by this flash, and you just wait here, you ask for this close main flash, and then you just quickly check if anyone is playing close main here in front of the smokes. Now let's talk about what to do if these smokes come directly from spawn. People call these like rush smoke. It's basically just the same like Astralis smokes, but they're like super fast immediately at the beginning of the round. If you notice this as a pattern, what you can always do is just throw a molly here, because usually the smokes bounce here, and then the smoke is just going to be like landing here, and then there will be a huge gap on this side here behind red. Or obviously we can just break them again from here for the first one, or if you're close main, you just aim a little bit above these wires here, left and right, and you can break them like so. One thing that you need to know is that from heaven it's actually impossible to break them, because the nade is never going to be deep enough, so people actually have to drop down here, yeah, and break this for you, otherwise it's not going to work. So just know that if there are these two smokes and you know that your rotating player is playing heaven, just realize that he's not going to be able to break those for you. As we said earlier, when you play garage, there is this chance of people like jumping around the corner and you can barely see them. Usually people do this with these type of like with diagonal smokes. And there's actually a counterplay to this, which is going inside of this corner here, which is pretty strong, because obviously you can see that if they're running to or jumping around the corner, you're in a super powerful position to kill them. In general, playing garage is pretty good against teams that like to play around main, like slowly. They do outside smokes, then they slowly walk towards main. Maybe they do a main smoke afterwards, and they try to fight this space here. Against all of these kind of plays, playing garage is pretty strong, but it's pretty weak against teams that like to go secret, that don't really attack this area here, because you're just going to like sit here, and it's really hard for you to move out later, because if you run, you make a lot of noise, and if you walk, you're super slow. And if they just have one guy lurking outside, it's super easy for him to catch you, because there's so many positions that he can be in. So you're pretty much just hard stuck here, being useless. So the general rule for you as an outside player should be, you should only really spend a lot of time in garage if teams are playing very slow outside towards main, or they want to attack this space here later on in the round. If they are a team that plays pretty straightforward towards secret, then you should usually be more towards main, let your A player, like your door player, rotate, and then you can take over A. Or if they go down secret, you just try to delay them early, and then you rotate down yourself and go towards the B side. If T's are playing super slow on outside, you can also try this off angle here. It's not the best angle, because T's can see you a little bit more like early, because you're closer to this wall here. But the thing is, they go here, and once they check here, now this is when they like lose sight of you, and you can actually kill them. So they're coming out here, nothing is heaven. See, now they're focused here, and now you're popping up on the right side here. So it's an angle that you can get some surprise kills on if the T's really like to play slow around outside. Now, as promised, let's go over how to block any A rush. So if you have a good spawn, maybe you just flash outside. Yeah, you don't do the molly anymore. You just come main. One option that you have is listen for the sound, and if you hear the nade bouncing, like you will hear it bounce against this wall, then you know that the door is going to get broken. And then what you can do is you can either spam from here, because then if people are coming here, they can't see you, and if they're running outdoor, they're getting fully spammed. You have to practice it a little bit, but if you can master it, it can be pretty useful. What you can also do is you just come towards the left side here, and the idea behind this is that usually if people are rushing outdoor, they're going to flash like so. So if you're standing here, you're going to get full blinded by these flashes. But if you're playing here, a lot of times the flashes will be too powerful, and they will just bounce like out of your vision, and then you can immediately go for a spray. Obviously, you will probably get smoked here pretty early on, but you can just hold the line and then go for a spray and hope for the best, and try to get as much damage and onto anyone that's like rushing out of the door. And then the guys that are coming outdoors should be low HP, and then he has a much easier time just killing them. If you arrive a little bit late in main, always be ready to like instantly break the smoke and try to farm anyone that's running up the bomb site. Usually in this type of scenario, it would be best if you try to move towards the left, so you're not fighting anyone that's close to hut still, but you're trying to fight anyone that's like trying to scale into the bomb site on the right side. So now let's talk about the mid round as an outside player. So as we said earlier, you want to block rushes or you want to play around main, and if nothing happens, you usually want to play around this blue box here or somewhere here to gather some information. Taking fights from here can be pretty beneficial for you because you can always choose left and right side of this box here, and it's pretty like hard to spam them. You do like very little damage through these boxes as a team. So it's a pretty good position to be in, and it's also pretty good to dodge any flashes that are coming around the corner. Just make sure if you expect them that you crouch, so you actually block the flashes and you don't get blinded by them. If you're more towards main and you have an AWPer that likes to be really active around heaven area, like here or under heaven, it can be a good idea to rotate into the A side if you know that the outside take is pretty weak from them, or that the T's don't really fight for this area, because you only want to stay here with an AWPer together if you know that T's like to fight for here or here, because otherwise two people are committed holding outside against a team that's not coming outside, which doesn't make sense, right? So if the T's are like attacking outside in a very weak form, then it might be a good idea, obviously your door player will probably smoke here, to just come into the A side, and then you can play default positions like CT vent here or closed door, and let just your AWPer take care of this outside space here. The only thing you need to communicate then is that A main is kind of open, yeah, so your teammates on A are ready for that and choose their position accordingly. Obviously you can always stay in main and gather some info about outside, or just stay here, however you want to play it. Just be mindful of flash plays, especially like in mid round. So if the door is not controlled, you need to be aware of the possibility that somebody could flash main here. And if you're here in the open, it can get really hard. So maybe if you have door control, you can play a little bit more aggressive here and move a little bit. It's not optimal, obviously, but it makes it harder for the T's to actually flash you, because most T's flash like so, right? So the flash will never go deeper than this line. So if you play kind of on the line or in front of the line, then it's a little bit safer for you against these flash plays. But obviously then it would be really nice if your door player is still like holding door, or at least your side player is making sure that nobody's walking out. So you also have to consider where your A player is. But if door is getting held, maybe you have somebody on top of hut, then this is still a very viable area to be in. One thing to understand is that usually you're not the player that is rotating down B. Usually this is the door player, because you're going to be too late in case if like you're breaking here from blue blocks or something, you're going to be too late. So it's going to be the door player, which means that a lot of times if then nothing is happening outside anymore, you should help your A player, so you and the remaining A player are on the bomb site together. And as I said, the AWP was then free to float, so he can, for example, go ramp and the ramp guy can go down. So we have two guys down, one guy on bomb side with you, and then the AWPer is like floating around heaven and ramp. Another option that you have is to start close main, and then if you think that they're going secret pretty early, or you just spotted this as a tendency from the enemy team, you can rotate down from vent. As we said earlier, usually it's the A player, like the door player, that's rotating down, and you as an outside player are always responsible for calling the rotation. So you're the one saying, okay guys, somebody has to rotate, they could be down, that's your job. Now if you're in a scenario where the T's like to play aggressive towards, or like to play towards secret, but you didn't have the spawn to, for example, start here, but you also know that they don't really attack this area here, and your AWPer will probably be able to hold on to this area by himself, then in some cases, or this might be a good case, where you actually want to rotate down and take care of secret. So your door player and A side player can just stay on the bomb side and you take care of secret. In this type of scenario, it would be good if you keep one of your utils, so either the smoke or the molotov. So either just flash outside and keep the molly, or if you molly, keep the smoke. So once you're going down here, you still have the option to play passive, like for example here with like a smoke where you just jiggle, and if you see them, you just smoke it off and then just hold it. Obviously, you can also play a little bit more aggressive if it's very early in the round and the T's don't really rush it here on outside. What you need to be doing then is, if you want to check red, always check from the right side, because now I'm not really exposed. Obviously, I'm exposed to left side of silo, but I'm not exposed to this area here. It's obviously not perfect, but it's much better than peeking like this. Obviously, because now you're completely open to the full silo and obviously anyone on top of main, which is not the case if you're peeking like so. So in general, what you want to be doing is you want to check silo first, and then if nobody's on silo, you go here and then you check main. T-red, sorry. If you're forced back, you can also hold angles like this or jiggle here, and then you just drop a smoke like this. This is also totally viable. And if you're forced further back, then you should be playing here or here. I personally, as I explained in the door video, prefer to play on this side here because you get earlier information, and on this side you can just keep the doors open if you spot somebody and they don't know, if you quickly reposition to the like right side or left side, and if the door is still open, they have to worry about more angles, right? They're going to be scared, so it's much more uncomfortable for them to go down if the doors are open. So if you're jump spotting here and you see them, don't close them and go inside, or don't close them and go left side. Just keep them open, and then you can decide if you want to go actually inside of the bomb side, which is probably best if you have somebody that can rotate, so you can fight together with him. But if you're on your own and you have to kind of get some kills, then it's probably best if you play, for example, here, which is a pretty strong off angle that you can take. Or you can also play here, and there's a small shadow advantage that you get. Like if somebody's here, you can see there's this shadow on the ground, so you can spot them a little bit earlier and have an advantage in this fight. Now some more util that could be important for you as an outside player. If you know that somebody's always jumping on top of silo looking for like clearing outside here, what can be really good is if you're just here, you just aim on top of this main roof here, and then you get the nades that's like landing here, which is pretty strong. You can also do aggressive nades around this corner here. What the fuck am I doing? Just way too high, kind of like this. Yeah, and then it directly bounces behind this blue box here, which can be pretty strong. You can also always molly behind red by just aiming in the middle of those wires here, something like this. And this can be really powerful. And if it's early in the round, this is sometimes much better than actually molotoving here, because if you molly here behind the smokes, they can always edge it. Yeah, they can edge the molly. Like if the molly is only here, they just go a little bit inside of the smoke and then they don't take any damage. But if you molly in the area where there is no smoke, obviously there is no option to edge it. If you want to check close main immediately by yourself, you can also just come here, aim a little bit under this wire, and then just release the nade. And with this one, you can check close main yourself, as you can see. If you're ever stuck behind this box, but you still have a flash left, you can always just crouch, aim on top of this line here, stand back up, and then you will always get a flash that lands in front. Pretty simple. So yeah, guys, that's pretty much it for the video. I hope you learned something new. As always, guys, if you did make it this far into the video, leave me a comment with the hashtag. Today, let's go for hashtag tryhard. And I'm really interested to see how many of you made it this far. If you're interested in coaching, feel free to join my Discord, or if you in general just want to be part of a growing community. And if you have any further questions, leave them in the comment section below, or just come onto my Discord and ask me there. I hope every one of you is having a wonderful day, and I'll catch you in the next one, guys. Peace out.